Well, hello again. Pastor Ray Barnett here with you, and I'm glad that you could be with me here on the Oasis. And as always, I wish you a good morning, a good afternoon, or a good evening, depending on what time you're watching this broadcast. Beautiful day here today. If you were with me yesterday, it was in the low 30s, and with the wind chill, it was in the 20s. But today, temperature is about the same, but there's no wind, so it's pretty comfortable. A little chilly, but then again, it is almost the end of November. Hey, by the way, depending on what day you're watching this broadcast, many of you watch a day or two or a week later, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Today is November the 24th, and it's Thanksgiving Eve, and I hope that you and your family, your loved ones, have a really blessed holiday and a really blessed Thanksgiving. Today, I would like to talk to you about the habit of learning to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Now, this is an adage used by special forces, spec ops people, but it has great bearing on nervous symptoms, on anxiety, on depression, and other afflictions of the mind and of the soul. Getting comfortable, being uncomfortable. Now, for you, the application is, again, a simple principle, though admittedly not an easy one, but it's still something that must be done in order for you to conquer your nervous symptoms. Let me give you an illustration. In my own life, I'll give you a little illustration from my own life. People have remarked over the years how neat my handwriting is. Well, I was taught that when we went to school in grade school. There was a history test. It also included marks off for misspelled words and poor penmanship. It was kind of a type of thing you're supposed to get on a university level, but I'll call it eclectic. So we were taught penmanship and we were taught spelling, and then you're taking the history test or science. Your spelling counted and your handwriting counted. So I learned to write in cursive or script very neatly. And again, people have remarked over the years. But if I'm in a hurry, I can't write for beans. I mean, it's just scribble. And what is that? Well, what it is not just the haste, but the muscles become tense. So that means down right to the muscles in the fingers, and the nerves controlling the hand and the fingers are tense and under pressure. So my handwriting is not good when I'm in a hurry. When I'm relaxed, when I'm just taking my time, my handwriting is actually pretty neat. So if you think of that illustration and apply it to your, let me say, to your situations, but specifically, I don't know why the fear of going out of the house comes to my mind, but I'll use that one. I have told you before on this broadcast, there are many people with agoraphobia who, it's not that they cannot leave the house. See, that's a misnomer. They said I can't leave the house. It's not that they can't leave the house, it's that they won't leave the house. And there's a big difference. And that's the essence of what I want to share with you today. The difference between cannot and will not. For you must, it's critical that you must understand that the will plays a major role in your life for everything. But it also plays a major role in your life in overcoming not just nervous symptoms. Yesterday I talked to you about sensations and feelings, how they come on their own. So I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how you handle those impulses or thoughts. That's a function of the will. The sensations, the feelings, they come on their own. The thoughts and the impulses of what you do or what you don't do is an act of the will. So that is what I'm talking about. So when I say you have to become comfortable being uncomfortable, that means that when you have a symptom, let's say again, I'll use the subject of agoraphobia. You're nervous when you go to shopping in the mall or to the store. Some people, they don't like going to the pharmacist to pick up their medications if you're on a medication for depression or anxiety, because they don't want people to know. So they may have somebody else go do it. And even though that's a separate subject, the stigma of nervous afflictions and of the so-called mental illness, it does apply. But let me just stick with this example. So you're nervous and you get very jittery when you have to go to the store or go to the mall or any myriad number of things that we could accent, and you're very uncomfortable. And in extreme cases, there are people who haven't left the house for years. And it's again critical for you to understand that there's a difference between cannot and will not. So here's the essence of what I want to share with you today. The fact that nervous symptoms, when they are purely nervous and they're not related to some physical disease, can be overcome is a well-established fact. Meaning there's a lot of hope for you. But it's predicated upon this one condition. If you're willing to become more and more comfortable being uncomfortable with your symptoms. Let me say it another way. The symptoms that you have already made you uncomfortable. So that's a given. Those are the sensations and feelings. But for you to step out against them, for instance, fear of going to the store. Maybe you're always sending your husband, your wife, or somebody else to the store to get things for you only because you are very uncomfortable when you have to go out, when you have to go outside, when you're being with people or anything. And it's uncomfortable. Now, in order to conquer that fear, you have to learn to be comfortable by applying the will so that you say to yourself, as we went over this week in this on these broadcasts, if I'm safe, I can't be in danger. And you'd have to go back to some of the teachings I did earlier this week. If I'm safe, then I cannot be in danger, yet my feelings and my sensations are telling me that there is danger. Then you have to say to yourself, but I know now that that's a false alarm, but I still feel uncomfortable going to the store, going outside. Then add in there what may be your particular affliction that you are concerned about, that makes you worried and fearful and makes you just uncomfortable. In order to conquer it, you have to walk out. Maybe it's a case of public speaking, and I don't mean like I do in a pulpit. I mean, you have to give a speech at school. You may be in college, and you have to talk somewhere, and that's a major fear for most people, public speaking. But I'm just saying, you have to speak up, maybe even at the dinner table. So it could be a lot of things that make you uncomfortable, the sensations that you get, the feelings that you get. They're making you uncomfortable, and you're not, maybe up to this time now, you've not been willing to challenge them by saying, well, if I'm safe, I can't be in danger, so the signal that my brain is getting from the body is a false alarm. Now, in order to conquer the symptoms, permanently conquer the symptoms, you have to be willing to become more and more comfortable while you are uncomfortable. I mentioned earlier this is something, Special Forces, kind of a maxim they use, but that's more extreme than what you're facing. Well, at least they may get fired upon, and often do, and risk their life. You're not risking your life, but your life is at stakes, just the same. And by the way, let me just tell you a real quick story about Special Forces. I read of a Army Ranger who had many jumps out of a plane being deployed, and he did them with relatively no problem, relative ease, which most people don't want to jump out of a plane in enemy territory, but he did it. And then after he was discharged, he became panic-stricken, with a panic disorder. And I remember, I never forget reading about this Army Ranger saying that if he had a choice between jumping out of a plane behind enemy lines, these were his words, behind enemy lines, or having a panic attack, he would choose jumping out of a plane behind enemy lines. That's pretty dramatic. And you may agree, right? You may say, oh, these symptoms are terrible. But there's the challenge. If you want to be free, you have to have the will to get more and more comfortable with that discomfort that is being brought on by sensations and feelings and so on. It's from your nervous system. You have to challenge it. For instance, again, if you're afraid to go in the store, you must go to the store. It's going to be uncomfortable. There's going to be, your body is going to be, sending all kinds of signals to the brain, and the brain is going to be swimming in all types of fearful anticipations, and you're going to have to brave those sensations to say, I'm not in danger. I'm going to walk out against these symptoms. I'm going to go outdoors. I'm going to go speak up at the dinner table, or maybe you got to speak at a group, or you got to give a speech in school, or whatever it may be. Drive a car. I counseled a woman many years ago who had such a protracted case that she could not take care of her newly born child. She couldn't go to work, and she couldn't drive a car. And after working with her for a couple of months, she went back to work. She was able to take care of her child, and she went back to driving her car and several other things. Things that the psychologists couldn't do with her, I was able to do with her through the Bible and the prayer and the type of teachings that you're getting here on this channel on the Oasis. All right, so the simple but not easy dictum is that you have to get comfortable, knowing that you're going to be uncomfortable in your body, with your brain. You're going to have to understand that this is going to happen. I mean, minus a miracle, which certainly we could pray for, and those things do occur. But generally speaking, the average individual has to just tough it out day after day, trial after trial. And by the way, you may not succeed. You may say, okay, I'm going to do this today. I'm going to go out and I'm going to go to the store. I'm going to make that speech. I'm going to drive that car. And again, whatever it may be. And it don't work out. You back out. You then go at it again. Hour later or a day later, it doesn't matter. You go at it again. I am going to beat this thing. And trial after trial, trial after trial, trial after trial, until the brain gets the idea to tell the body, just relax. There is nothing dangerous about this and that and the other thing. So to get the concept, as I've told you so many times on this channel, these principles are simple, but I in no way am implying that they're easy. But if you truly want to be free, if you're trapped in your house, if you're suffering from chronic depression, anxiety attacks, social insecurities, social anxieties, and on and on and on, you're going to have to challenge the sensations and challenge the feelings of your body. And you're going to have to do that by having a will to become more comfortable being uncomfortable, until finally there is no more discomfort from nervous symptoms. And believe me, again, I've worked with a lot of people over a lot of decades. This works. Let me say this, which should be obvious, but if you don't practice, nothing that I teach you here or exhort you with here is really going to help. It's like reading the Bible. The Bible was not written simply to be read. The Bible is, in one manner of speaking, an instruction manual. And that manual is designed for us to do it. The grace of God, in other words, is not given to us to just say, hey, now God doesn't care about what I do or how I live. That's not true. What was condemned in the Old Testament is still condemned now. The difference is that we have grace, and that grace produces the power. It's a dynamic quality, not a static doctrine, static teaching. It's a dynamic quality that gives us the ability to do. So, applying it to your symptoms, it's the same principle. However uncomfortable it is, and it will be. So let's be clear about that. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be frightened. But you challenge it and 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 challenge it, and you refuse to give in. And again, if it's purely a nervous symptom that's built up over the years, doesn't even matter how many years. In the end, the brain-body connection, the Spirit of God, of course, too, is going to instruct you and help you. And all of a sudden, things that you never dreamed that you could do, you will be doing. But once again, you have to be willing to become comfortable bearing the discomfort of your symptoms by challenging them and forcing yourself, if you will, to do what you fear to do. And when you do that, in the end, you will be successful. You will overcome. All right, let's pray today. Father, I just pray for my friends as I do every day. And I just ask you to give them that will and that courage to become more and more comfortable with the discomfort that they experience with their symptoms, and particularly in walking out and speaking out and acting against them to prove to themselves there really is nothing to be afraid of other than the sensations and the feelings that I have and they get all these years. Touch them and give them the peace and courage, I pray. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, once again, depending on when you're watching this broadcast, I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. If I don't get to talk to you tomorrow, I may. Depends on how the day goes. But as always, I invite you. We are picking up subscribers, and you're absolutely more than welcome to join us on this small group in this channel. So just subscribe, hit the notification button, and always keep in mind that if you're new to the channel, just keep in mind that this is not like one broadcast covers it all, because it doesn't. And I stay on one theme, pretty much on anxiety, depression, and mental health issues. So I'm not all over the place giving beard tutorials and the next time showing you how you cut your hair and what clothes to wear. I mean, some people, they just throw up everything. I don't. There's one goal on this channel, and that's to free you from your anxieties and your panics and your depressions and on and on and on. So keep that in mind. If you're interested in that, then subscribe, hit the notification button. I always appreciate, as I guess 400 billion other YouTube creators do, a thumbs up. And that's it. Again, have a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope that you and yours are blessed as I am. I'm definitely blessed. And I may see you tomorrow, depends on how it goes. So anyway, whether I see you tomorrow or not, or see you the next day, may God's peace be with you, and just get comfortable being uncomfortable. And in the end, you're going to win. You're going to conquer. God bless. See you then.